The sea has been the highway for generations of Newfoundlanders. Ships of every description have plied that highway, sail and steam, auxiliaries, oil burners, and diesel-driven craft. But resettlement and road expansion are ending the historic isolation of the Outport fishing population. It has also speeded up the passing of the wooden coasting fleet, now down to a mere handful. One of the last of them is the Norma and Gladys. "20 years ago and less, these coasters moved the bulk of the freight on the long Newfoundland and Labrador coastline. They were especially helpful to ports not served by the regularly scheduled steamers. But there are still some remote areas that have to be supplied, and the Norma and Gladys plays an important role. She is owned and commanded by Captain Charlie King of Brookfield, Bonavista Bay. He is the last of a rare breed.
Well, I was born in 1901, and this July I was 68 years of age. 19th of July I was 68 years of age. And since I was 13 years old when I went to sea first. 13 years old. And I took charge in 1923. Took charge of a vessel, a small vessel about 30 tons. They're used to taking those packages, you know. Every trip now, when you're sure to see a man coming in, skipper, will you carry this pass down and give him to a certain person? And you say, you got the name on? Yes, okay. I think the course would be well missed by when they realize that a lot of bottoms is gone. I don't see, to tell you the truth, how we can get along without so many bottoms on this coast. We're living on an island, you know. And although we got the roads through, there's a certain line of goods the trucks is not very keen on taking, you know, because the truck can only take so much. It's not going to be a paying proposition. The cost is too great now to keep the vessel up. I like to travel at night because you'll be well advanced for the next day. But if you've got to get up and wait for daylight, you only got about 8 hours. 8 hours at light, and then you got dark again. All right, in the summer, when the long days are on, you can start at daylight and just practice all night. But when the nights get long, the day is short. Always take advantage to get a good run in the night.
That's the scene at the dockside for several days. But at last, the truck stopped coming. A few hours later, her skipper and crew begin the familiar cycle. The Norma and Gladys puts to sea.
You got to plan things when you're lying down at night. When somebody else is asleep, you got to be planning for the next morning. That's the only thing I see. Planning ahead. If you're at this coastal trade, you've got to be wide awake to everything that's going on and get all the information you can get. If you're walking around Water Street and not unconcerned about this and unconcerned about that, and don't make inquiries to one and the other and trying to find out all the information you like, you only come out of a quarter load, that's all. But if you're interested into it and wiring messages here and there and everywhere, what business and cater to the people is the most important thing, you know. Cater to the people and give good service.
Heading down north, as the Newfoundlanders say, the destination of the Norma and Gladys is the eastern coast of the long finger of land that points northeast from the main body of the island. From an airplane, one can get the best view of its ragged and rugged outline. This coast can be treacherous in fog, with added perils from ice floes and icebergs. It's the so-called French shore, a relic of the diplomatic maneuvering of the 18th and 19th centuries. Treaties signed by Paris and London gave the French the right to fish and dry their catch along hundreds of miles of Newfoundland coast, without interference from local fishermen. The fishing villages on the shore are scattered and picturesque. They have evolved in a distinct pattern, their central and dominant feature, the church. The arrival of the coaster is an event in the community. There's always a crowd waiting on the wharf. Youngsters and oldsters lend a hand to dock her and help tie her up. Captain King is on hand to greet everyone. When the vessel arrives late in the afternoon, too late to begin discharging, the men are able to visit around the harbor and the other vessels in port. They spend the evening playing cards, yarning, or just enjoying the usual outport hospitality. The night slips by, and the misty dawn breaks over the harbor of Conch. The houses are quiet. The lanes and streets are empty. The waterfront shows little sign of the activity to come. The fishermen are the first to stir. They push off in their boats while the rest of the village sleeps. The crew of the Norma and Gladys also turn out early. Soon they are on deck, knocking out the battens, pulling off the tarpaulin, removing the hatch covers. The cargo is unloaded with dispatch. Even at that early hour, there is a group of interested spectators eager to help, if their help is needed. Captain Kane is ever present, directing, urging, cajoling, ready to pitch in himself, for time is of the essence. The tallyman hovers around, ticking off the items on the ship's manifest. Part of the cargo for conch is salt, to be used by fishermen making their catch. But something new has been added. Once it used to be carried in bulk and had to be shoveled in and out of holes. Now it is neatly packaged in plastic bags and is taken directly into the sheds and stored away. When everything for conch is out, there's no lingering around. Another port lies just around the next cape, where other folk are anxiously waiting. The hatches are battened down again, the lines cast off. The day is overcast as the Norma and Gladys steams out of Conch. Her course is shaped to pass Cape Rouge and to take her inside the Grey Islands. The fog lying low on the headlands warns that the next stage of the voyage may be a chancy one. Everyone is on the alert for the dangers that lurk on every hand. The skipper, as always, is on deck. His experienced eye takes in every detail of land, sea, and sky. He is a backup for the lookout, a hawk-eyed fellow who stands like a statue in the chains, erect and watchful whenever the vessel is at sea. And giving them both added confidence, the spinning radar atop the wheelhouse.
even the radars don't pick up those small pieces of ice, you know. Radar is what we call a aid to navigation. Aid to navigation, but some people put full dependence in that. I've been master now for over 48 years, so I knocked a lot about a lot without radar, you know. So I'm not the same as the man who's brought up with radar. You know, a young fella just started. I more or less like be looking out, you know. Crook, you know, is about the best harbours on the Newfoundland coast. Once you get in Crook, you're safe enough. You can lie down and sleep away. That's one thing in a storm, when you get in Crook, as soon as you pass it in and turns and gets in that long in-draft in there, it cuts all the sea right off. So you got to stay quiet as you want. It can blow 50 mile a wind on some pints in a Crook, in the fall of the year, more especially when storms is on the outside. Those at this high land, you know, the wind passes over. You don't find any undertow, no swell or anything in it.
It's a real occasion when the Norma and Gladys reaches a harbor where the family of one of the crew happens to live. Then, the port of call is the scene of a homecoming. Steve's home is at Croak, and his children flock to the wharf to greet their father. They help him with his packages, hoping perhaps he's brought them presents from St. John's.
We had 2 men from Crook this year. We had 2 last year. And we generally go in to give those men a night off, and it's very peaceful when you get in there, and we carry quite a lot of freight for Crook too. And the men are anxious to get home, so we carry them in, stay overnight every trip. We generally stay overnight. If it's getting a little bit late in the evening, 3 to 4 o'clock, we remain until the next morning to Crook.
Croak is unique among the many fascinating ports of call. Because it is such a good harbor, the French, when they occupied this part of the treaty shore, made it their main base and station. It was visited often by their men of war that came out from France each year to convoy the fishing vessels from places like Fécamp and Saint-Malo. Many customs and traditions still linger that stem from French origins. Family names have French connotations. The legends have a twist of Gallic romanticism. It wasn't always sweetness and light. Those were tense times, for the British Navy also maintained a patrol on the coast to see that no hostile incidents occurred between French and local fishermen. Despite this, clashes did occur. Mute testimony to the naval presence of the 2 great powers during that long, critical period can be seen on the tombstones in the ancient cemetery. On this particular trip, the stopover is shorter than usual, for the harbor is reached in broad daylight. Since they cannot afford to wait, Steve only gets shore leave while his mates are taking out the packages for Croak. By the time he gets back from his house, the vessel is almost ready to sail again. He just has time to help put the last logs aboard. Below decks, the engineer switches on. The water foams astern. Goodbyes are said hurriedly amidst the waving of hands in farewell. The routine journey is resumed. The cycle continues. On the way out of Croak, the Norma and Gladys passes other men at other routine tasks. Fishermen hauling their traps. And always, on every side, the eternal menace. Growlers floating half-submerged or vast ice islands grounded in the channel. Skipper Charlie is on deck, scanning the ship the way they did it in the old days, when it was said they smell the land. In foggy weather, they used to blow their horn to get an echo off a berg or off the land to judge their distance and safety margin. Skipper Charlie still likes to navigate by the familiar landmarks in daylight and clear weather, getting his bearings by the contour, silhouette, or height of the shoreline. The worst that could happen here is an engine breakdown, and Skipper Charlie has no worry on that score. At St. Anthony, near the tip of the great northern peninsula of Newfoundland, the Norma and Gladys is nearing the limit of her trading venture. All through the passage, Captain Keane has been thinking about the voyage back and what kind of cargo he can pick up to make his return trip worthwhile. St. Anthony is the focal point of the area. When he reaches this place, he has to have a pretty good idea of where he is to get his cargo to take back to St. John's.
St. Anthony is quite a place, you know. There's a big improvement there. There's great increase now the last few years. And it's well built up there and still improving all the time. I've been going to St. Anthony. There's the Grand Formation had a fine dock there. Quite a lot of business people there. And we carry freight for different people. There's some ships waiting on hire, and probably the fishery products that are waiting on freight coming down, so we do our best to supply those people. Everything seems to be very prosperous at the time now.
In this region, the weather is very changeable. The effect of the cold Labrador current hitting the warm Gulf Stream to the south of Newfoundland is intensified as one gets farther north. There, the harbors may be fogged in at their mouth, while half a mile inland, the sun will be shining. Sometimes it is so thick that the Norma and Gladys must be careful just moving from one side of the harbor to the other, steaming dead slow, keeping a sharp lookout not just for the small boats, but for the large steamers.
To make a success at this coasting trade, you got to spend money. If you're trying to save money on engines, well, you're going to mean I'd look before the summer's up, because that trouble is coming. You always got to figure on to certain things going to give out or wear out before that season is up. So it prepares for that, takes off things before it's worn out, not when it happens. Too late when it happens, then it's probably a round trip gone. Probably $2,000 or $2,500, which if you spend $600 or $700, you wouldn't have had that trouble. So she hadn't stopped not 5 hours the last 18 years on engine trouble.
Captain Kane doesn't take things easy, in port or at sea. He gives everything his personal attention, even if it means scrambling over the rail and across cluttered decks and up and down ladders. Once more, the lookout takes up his monotonous vigil, and well he might. The sight of a foundering berg is commonplace to the men of the Norma and Gladys, but it's a sight that the tourist office would love to be able to guarantee every visitor, especially those who, persuaded by colorful brochures, make a trip on a coastal steamer.
After we discharge our cargo, general cargo, it's about the last of August, we start carrying fish from all those fish ports. That's from Ship Cove. We generally get Ship Cove from Mr. J.R. Dicker and Mr. Elliott at Raleigh, and from that to Mr. Elliott at Cook's Harbour, from that to Carpoon. There's other agents there. All those fishing grounds from Sananti around to Cook's Harbour, we've been carrying fish now this last 18 to 20 years, and it's good fish ports there. And they generally have good fish there. Every year you have fairly good fish. They dry their fish fairly well. And we trade from there to August to up to December. Carrying general cargo and bringing back in return catfish. Well, in the spring early, we generally take lumber. We carry down supplies in the spring where we take lumber in return back to St. John's. But the majority of cases we deal around St. Anthony district, from that to Cape Bald, from that to Ship Cove, to Raleigh, to Cook's Harbour. That has been our business around the ports now the last 19 years. We haven't had any hard luck, to tell you the truth, now since 1951 I bought this vessel. A steady go all the time. She's going all the time. She hardly gets cold when you're going in from port to port. But this coasting trade, the freight rates haven't raised, since 1951. And you got to die. The CNR is carrying freight cheaper than we are, but we're carrying more than the CNR. We're going to every wharf in every port. You got 20 packages, 10 packages. Well, we go and land it on that man's wharf. You may go around 5 different wharfs into one place. He wants his freight there, and that's it. He goes to one wharf, you got to go to another. So you got to cater to those people for that. So they're talking about the wages on those boats. You can't afford to pay any more than you're paying. We're paying much more now than when we did start. But the cost has gone much more now on the vessel. The insurance has gone quite high now. And if you don't insure your vessel, if the trade is not worth insuring, it's not worth going at.
As the Norma and Gladys cruises south again, the water is warmer and the icebergs begin to dwindle and melt away. But to the north, they persist in their splendor, even into autumn. They are always to be reckoned with, ghostly and menacing even in their magnificence. They are like great sea cathedrals, skyscrapers towering from the deep, as monumental and as magical as any man-made skyscraper of the cities, including St. John's, to which the Norma and Gladys must eventually and inevitably return.
In the fall, that's what you depend on, is getting loads of fish. You got to have a certain amount of men, to pass the fish up. There's a lot of picking, 15 or 2,000 cans of fish. So you can't really do it with just a coasting crew, 4 or 5 men. You got to have men on deck, men in the hatchway, and on the wharf. So we generally engage with about 7 or 8 men to get down in the hole to yaffle up this fish.
Thus, the cycle is completed. From St. John's, the Norma and Gladys has gone down north to the French shore, landed a general cargo on the way. That done, she has returned with a stock item of her own reciprocal trade, a load of salt codfish. The fish is taken out, another general cargo goes aboard, and she's on her way again. Captain Charlie Keene has lost track of the many trips he's made, but he's enjoyed them all.
As far as the sea is concerned, It's a fairly good life. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it at all. So I've been at that now the last 53 years. And that's my hobby, right through life. And the same thing now. I haven't changed anything. No, I haven't changed anything. I got the same mind now as I always had. Same thing for getting up in the morning. Same. To go right to work. No, I'm not going to slow down, but I'm not going to slow down. I'm going fast all my life then. Now when I die, I want to go to the world fast and be buried quick. Next year, there's a possibility we'll be going again. So we'll have to do something. I'm always used to work all my lifetime, especially if it's a paying proposition. But when it comes to it's not a paying proposition, it's quite different altogether. You know. I think the future, the trading, the general trading will keep up for a few years, but not too long. We get a chance to sell this vessel. I don't know if we're deciding to sell or not. If we don't sell anyway, we'll be at it again, I expect, whether we make $1 or not.